Hey there friends and enemies, Joper here again, and today I wanted to talk about day one, starting my free-to-play count in Honkai Star Rail, which was off to an amazing beginning. This thing could not have gone better. My very first 10 pull, I was able to get a 5-star, and it was Bailu, probably the best healer in the game right now, which will make the early parts of this game significantly easier, and I was ecstatic about this. It felt really good. There's something different about when you get a 5-star that's not on pity, when you're not wailing, when you hit those 5 stars, it's just so satisfying and it feels so good. And it's probably my favorite feeling in all of gacha gaming, especially when I am on a free-to-play account. So Bailu is tremendous so far. I think she's going to be fantastic. And as a 5-star, I really wanted Himiko or a character that's going to be more DPS focused. But the way the combat works in Honkai Star Rail, where you have your entire team out there, having a healer is going to be very, very useful, especially in the beginning and probably in the end game as well. So having Bailu, I think, is a good option for sure. And it's not something I wasn't planning on re-rolling my account anyway. But the other nice thing about getting her on my very first roll was that now I don't have to wish again on the departure warp for quite some time. I can focus on the standard banner, so that way I can build pity towards my next 5-star right away, because I am going to get a bunch more silver tickets. I have the gold tickets where I'm going to wish on the Sealy banner, and if I get Sealy as my primary DPS, then I have Bailu as my healer. It's going to be a nice combo more than likely. So I'm very excited about that. I thought she was one of my top 2 or 3 characters that I really wanted. And then jumping into the first boss fight, the general story has been interesting so far. I really enjoyed it. The fight with the Doomsday Beast was really cool in my opinion. I like the combat, especially someone who's a traditional JRPG fan. It felt very familiar and fun. It's not too complex, which I think they could add a little bit more to that. But I understand, especially being a mobile game and being on mobile platforms, why they don't do that. Overall, every character only has the 3 attacks: your basic, your special, and then your ultimate. But the attacks look tremendous. Like, the visual effects are very cool. Cutscenes have been very nice. This boss fight was familiar to me as a Genshin player. It felt like one of the Genshin boss fights, but obviously the way the gameplay plays out is much, much different. And yeah, overall, I'm going to enjoy in this game, I think, team building a little bit more than in Genshin, because it feels like every character needs to be good. You know what I'm saying? Every character needs to be helping out the squad. Whereas in Genshin, sometimes you have a character that's simply only there for the interactions, only there to provide a shield, not really all that useful all the time, or the healer, or whatever the case may be. And so I think this is going to add more flexibility to the team building, which is nice. The boss fights, I think, are going to be very good in this as well. They can add a bunch of variety. The one thing I'm definitely wondering about going forward is how important the various character types are going to be, as far as, like, you have your ice, your electric, all that fire, all that kind of stuff, and kind of juggling those strengths and weaknesses against certain opponents, especially when you get into the end game and the Honkai's version of the Spiral Abyss, because that'll be something I'm very curious about. In the early game, it doesn't really matter. You're not really concerned with that, because you can simply overpower a lot of things, especially as you level up your characters, and if you do get 5 stars. But yeah, I think overall the combat is very familiar to me as somebody who has played JRPGs for a long time. I'm enamored with the various abilities. Like, Bailu, her abilities look hilarious. They're very, very cool, and I do like the effects, like I said. And learning when to use everything is going to be important, because there's a lot of times where people, I think, don't realize that you're gonna either be fighting multiple waves or have to fight a boss over multiple waves, and so you're gonna spam your ultimates, and that might not be the play as you're trying to hold them off and use them at the most optimal time. So that's going to be a learning process, I think, for everything. Same thing with building your teams. I think in the beginning, everyone's going to do tier lists. Everyone's going to just to show off their teams, and this is the best character, this is the best team. But I don't think we're gonna know that for sure until everyone gets to endgame and we've had some time to see how the interactions work, see how certain characters synergize a bit better than maybe we expect. So I'm really excited about that. I'm going to do a lot of testing of my character just to see what the best combinations are, what my favorite combinations are as well. Because sometimes it doesn't matter in a game like this what the best is necessarily, as long as you're having fun and enjoying the characters that you're using. Like this particular moment, I probably shouldn't use her ultimate, although Himiko is the character that I want the most on my team, not necessarily for her strength, but just because she's probably my favorite character that I've seen so far, just visually. So overall, I'm really enjoying the game so far. I was definitely hooked in as I was playing right at launch, and it was a game that I can absolutely see myself sinking a ton of time into. It feels like when Genshin Impact first launched, and I was just incredibly excited about jumping on the game at any given time. I can't wait to check it out, try to chase new characters, new team compositions, check out the new content, go through the story, which I really enjoy so far, and the fact that it's kind of more sci-fi themed and there's a lot more options has been, for me personally, very, very nice. Overall, like I said, I would highly recommend checking this game out if you haven't already. This actually was a particular instance where this was a waste of an ultimate, to be honest, because this beast, you can do your standard attacks and take them down pretty quickly, so you don't have to worry about that. That's just a lesson learned, and that's one of the things I like about the game right now, is that there's going to be a lot of these lessons that you're going to need to keep in mind going forward of how to take on these various bosses and enemies and all that kind of stuff. And this is another part I was talking about with the multiple rounds as well. Like, this looks sick. This attack looked insane. Obviously, it didn't do insane amounts of damage. My team was ready for it, and I immediately was able to heal, but I know not everybody is going to have Bayou right from the jump, so I think that plays a big part in how I was able to tackle this boss. So I wonder if other people will have to struggle a bit more. As far as going forward with this account, what I'm looking to do, play through the campaign, do my dailies every single day. I think that's pretty standard stuff that you're going to see in a game like this. Dailies are massively important for leveling up. You're going to want to level up relatively quickly to get all the rewards that they have lined up for people. I'm going to try to wish on the Sealy banner. Obviously, I'm not going to have a guaranteed shot at her right away, but my hope is that I either get Sealy or Himiko sooner than later, so that they can be my primary focus on the DPS character I want to build. There's also the second banner character that's coming out. I would be fine with him as well. Those are probably the top three DPS characters from what I've seen so far that I'm most excited about. Now, everyone's going to have their own opinions on which characters they want the most, but yeah, Himiko, just because I love her playstyle, I love her whole aesthetic. Sealy, her aesthetic is cool too, but for her, it's mostly because I think she's probably going to be the highest single target DPS in the game from the jump. So, but this ability right here is awesome. The way she just sits there and then there's a giant laser from the sky is bananas, and it's absolutely hilarious. I love it so much. So, as far as everything else goes, I can't wait to dive in. I'll jump in more today. I'm gonna keep making this series if everybody is interested and you want to see my progress as a free-to-play player, what kind of content I'm able to take on, where I'm at in the story, whether I'm able to take on the end game activity, my team, ultimately what I rely on. Because remember, don't forget, you're going to need 2 full teams in order to tackle that end game, because they're going to have, just like in Genshin, split squads. So you're really going to want to focus on having at least 8 characters built up, and especially when you start looking at their interactions and the strengths and weaknesses of these certain characters, and shield types and all that kind of stuff that we're going to deal with later on. So definitely keep that in mind. I'm excited to see future bosses as well. That's one of the things I loved about Genshin is the variety of bosses, and I think this game is going to add a lot to that also. So yeah, this was my entire first boss fight. I thought it wasn't overly challenging, which I wouldn't expect it to be because it's the very first boss, but I've heard from others that there was a bit of a challenge to some just because, again, not having a true healer like I did, as good as Bayou, probably made it a bit more difficult in the long run. So other than that, yeah, the cutscene here, tremendous. I'm very excited. Like, this had me so hyped to play more. Like, this part right here, just this, like, knowing that they did the same thing with the main characters, a similar thing as they did in Genshin, was also interesting to me. I was wondering how they were going to handle that, but also no Paimon type character in Honkai Star Rail is a good choice in my personal opinion. So yeah, just watching this back is just so hyped. Like, that dude looks lit, right? Yeah, this was fire. I was a big fan. That little stab to the forehead is hilarious. Of course he does the glasses thing.
Mr. Yang, is she...
They're okay now.
Anyway, my name is Jopa. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Like the video. I hope you have a good one. I'll catch you all later.